picks of the draft feel like a lock at this point. But we'll get to pick 3 in a minute. It's a busy and packed NFL Live today as we've got perspective from Jeff Darlington and Jeff Saturday, Senior Bowl Executive Director Jim Nagy, Keyshawn Johnson, and Damian Woody as well. And I'm Field Yates, and welcome to the show where we'll dive into all the latest buzz, including what Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said earlier today. But intrigue continues to surround the Niners' 3rd overall pick, which they traded up to get in a blockbuster deal last month. All signs continue to point to one of the highly coveted quarterbacks, but Kyle Shanahan and GM John Lynch won't show their cards as far as who their guy is. Shanahan had plenty to say when he spoke to the media on Monday.
We could have sat there at 12 and waited to see which one came to us, and I think whichever one did, if one did, I think that could have looked really good. But we made a decision in this process that we felt we needed to get a starting quarterback this year and add that to our team. We wanted to dictate it.
Can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday.
Keyshawn, that's a rather sobering, but I suppose accurate statement right there from Kyle Shanahan at the end of that soundbite there. But let's talk about the quarterback. What do you think the 49ers should do at pick 3?
Well, I think they obviously take a quarterback, right? Do you take that quarterback that everyone thinks is Mac Jones? I don't. I think it's a Justin Fields potentially or a Trey Lance. You gave up a lot to go get a Mac Jones, then I don't understand, because you could have got him for a lot less. You could have sat in your spot at 12 and potentially got him, or you could have moved up, traded with a Detroit, traded with another team to get that pick without giving up 3 first-rounders and another pick later on. But when you look at this, I look at a guy that I know in John Lynch and another guy that I know in Kyle Shanahan to say that they're very smart individuals, and they're not going to allow someone else to spook them in the draft process to go out and make a move that's somewhat will be precedented over time, depending on how it pans out, to go get a guy like Mac Jones. I know the smoke screen. I know the game. It's out there. We've run with it over weeks now since the trade was announced. But I don't think that's the guy.
Well, Jeff, no matter who the 49ers take, all of a sudden Jimmy Garoppolo's got a crowded quarterback room. What happens to Jimmy G now?
That's right. Well, it depends who they take. Look, if they do take Mac Jones, it feels much more likely that Jimmy Garoppolo becomes an expendable point of the roster. Mac Jones would be, for all intents and purposes, going into this as the Week 1 starter. Trey Lance, on the other hand, is widely believed around the league to need some time before he's ready to be there. If that's the case, Jimmy Garoppolo remaining on the roster for 2021 certainly makes the most sense from a personnel standpoint. You will have to face the awkwardness of both Garoppolo going into this situation knowing he is lame duck, and the potential awkwardness of Garoppolo having success with this team, one in which he was nearly a Super Bowl champion as a part of. So there's a lot in play. Garoppolo, though, fortunately for the 49ers, is the type of player, despite what felt like an insult from Kyle Shanahan during that press conference, he's the type of player that I think will put his head down, will go to work knowing that there is a potential massive payday at the end of the rainbow if, in fact, he can succeed in 2021.
Listen, there was no doubt this was a shot from Shanahan to Garoppolo. Like, it was an unnecessary shot, in all honesty. I mean, he's up there having conversation about, he's already traded away the picks. It's the die has been cashed, right? I mean, you know what's going on. You get the 3rd pick. It's going to be a quarterback. Blah blah blah. Jimmy G's already sitting in that seat. There was really no reason to have that conversation. He wouldn't have said that about George Kittle. He wouldn't have said that about Bosa, right? I mean, you can go through a number of players that he would not have said that same comment about, the planet existing on Sunday. So when I look at this, it has made this more difficult than it should be. If you think about Jimmy G and what he's done, again, they're in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. When he's available, meaning when he's not injured, he is a quarterback that can win football games in the NFL. To bring along another rookie to kind of train under him, even if you're thinking of maybe making the full shift, week 8 or somewhere in there. But right now, I feel like you've pressed the gas on this, right? As you've all of a sudden said, whichever guy comes in, Garoppolo most likely won't be here, so he's going to be our day one guy. I just felt like it was unnecessary. Who knows if they can overcome it? Darlington, I know you believe that Jimmy G's the kind of guy that takes that in stride. I don't know that he is. I don't know that he will. But for lack of for really no reason other than just to say it, there was no reason for him to say that about Jimmy G at that moment, and it just brought more issue than really needed to be there.
Yeah, Jeff, I agree with you. It looked like Kyle Shanahan was a little agitated in that press conference. But back to the Mac Jones thing, I can see what Key's saying, that it seemed like a lot to go up to number 3. But you go back to the time of the trade. They had seen a lot of Mac Jones. They had been to Trey Lance's first pro day. They hadn't seen Justin Fields throw a ball yet. I have a hard time believing they'd trade up. And I know they've said they wanted to do their due diligence through the process. And since then, they have seen Justin Fields and met with Justin Fields. But to me, it seems like Mac or Trey Lance. And then you go back to yesterday. It almost seems like Kyle was agitated that people are digging in so fiercely against the Mac Jones pick. And with Trey Lance, I mean, he is a guy that's going to need to sit for a year. I think that's the ideal situation, the ideal scenario. I think that if you were going to do that and Trey Lance was going to make the pick, I think that you wouldn't have upset Jimmy G in that press conference yesterday.
I think, Phil, when you talk about moving up to get a quarterback, you gave up 3 1s and a third-round pick not to get Mac Jones. I think you get a Trey Lance type again. When you look at what they've done historically, and I'm talking about the Shanahan family per se, I'm talking about Kyle along with his dad, RG3 at Washington. Think about the when he inherited John Elway, Jake Plummer, for instance, they went out and got. Jake Cutler, they went out and got. Those are mobile quarterbacks that fit the West Coast system. He inherited Matt Ryan, who fell in his lap as the offensive coordinator, a statue-type quarterback. There's only 3 of those guys around the NFL right now. One being Tom Brady, the other being Matt Jones, and then there's maybe one other guy that we would deem as a statue in Jared Goff. That's not what the West Coast system historically has given us. Now, unless he's changed his principles, I don't know. I think it's Justin Fields, or it's Trey Lance. More likely, Trey Lance to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for the next couple of years.
I want to take the closing seconds that we have in this conversation to say thank you to the 49ers, because they've given us something to talk about for the past 1 month and 1 day. We will get as much out of this story as we can for the next 48 hours. But there's still more to come on NFL Live, and it's not all 49ers related. Kyler Murray says he thinks he has some influence over the Cardinals' draft decisions. Is there a power push at the quarterback position? And why Keyshawn thinks Kyler hasn't yet earned that input. Plus later, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones addressed the team's focus for the 10th overall pick. But one of our guys thinks swag should factor into the